Sahar Zaman, welcome to CNN News 18.
Thank you, Vishal, so much.
I'm very excited to talk to you about the biography of Talat Mehmood. It's a very interesting read, loaded with anecdotes from the life of Jaye To Jaye Kahan singer. Out of the many hit song, I like this one. So, how has been the response to the book? It's winning a lot of awards as well.
Yes, in fact, past weekend it got two awards. One was Biographer of the Year, and the other was Popular Choice Award, both by very established brands who do these awards. But I started writing the book on a very personal note. So it was a book which was a labor of love. It was not done for commercial number crunching or for awards, but it was only simply done that this is a story in his 100th year. It's his 100th birth anniversary in 2024, February, that we just passed. And it was a story to celebrate his life and give his story out to his fans and music lovers of the golden era. Because the more I researched about him, I mean, I always knew him personally as a granddad, sweet, cute granddad at home who was a great singer, and I knew about his singing. But suddenly, my interest was piqued as a journalist because his life, his pioneering decisions went beyond just being a singer. It was a life which was led along the history of India, the creation of the country, independence movement, partition, decisions made by him and his family. And every decision that he took was setting the ground of establishing our golden era music industry as well as our independent India's Ghazal music industry, which completely rests on his shoulders, and many other pioneering decisions, which we will talk about in the course of this conversation here, that intrigued me and piqued my curiosity as a journalist. So, as a journalist, I thought this was just such a fabulous story. And of course, very emotionally attached to it as well.
So then, when and how you decided to take this journey or the responsibility of chronicling your granddad's Talat Mahmood's life? He was, of course, known as the king of ghazals.
Right. So, Vishal, what happened was a few years ago, about 6, 7 years ago in 2017, I had this idea of doing a tribute concert in his name. And I named it Jashne Talat, Jashne, a celebration of Talat. So, this was a tribute concert series, a physical show, which was multi performance. It included singing, music, dance, portrait imagery, and theatrical enactment, which was all connected to his life and his music. And I took it across different cities in all the big metros and cities that really mattered to his life as well. So, like Delhi, Delhi, Hyderabad, Bombay, in the Delhi NCR region. And I started doing these series once again as a huge gesture of gratefulness, because I remember I was a new mother. My child was just born, a few months old, and I was back to work, and I was rushing to my news studio. My bulletin bookings were done, and he was very unwell, my son, at that point of time. He had a lot of fever, and I felt like a wretched mom. I didn't want to go to work, but of course, we have our professional engagements and decisions to take on that front as well, responsibilities, so to say. So I was going to work with a very broken heart, and I put on the radio in my car while driving to work, and there he was singing, and he was singing Sham Hai Gham Ki Qasam. And I had always, of course, known about this very soothing, calming quality of his voice, that soft velvet touch that immediately soothes your frazzled nerves. And but for the first time, I personally experienced it. And then I felt so grateful. I said, here's a legend who is part of me, and I want to do something in his name because I feel so proud and grateful. So that tribute series started. So in the course of those tribute concerts, I started researching more on him, and then I realized कि 1 घंटे का 2 घंटे का जो concert हम करते हैं,
That is not
उन
enough.
उन उनकी सारी बातें fit नहीं हो सकती. So I took the decision to write a book then. So this book I wrote in the course of the past 2 years. So it was a work of 2 years.
Wow. So then, you like in the book, you mentioned that his songs were not 9 days wonder. Now, having sort of almost lived with his work for 2 years, like you said, so
Right.
then according to you, what was his gift?
I think his gift was his gentle personality. And in that gentle personality, he managed to be a rebel and activist as well. And what killing charm! I think it's only charming people who can get away with certain decisions that he took in life and still didn't really ruffle feathers. He went along and took everyone along. Just the decision of being a singer, of entering films, or the decision of starting world tours. He was the first Indian playback singer who started world tours in the peak of his career. People told him, "Abhi mat jao desh se bahar because your recording slots are full, your acting slots are full. Don't leave physically because if एकदम से कोई जाता है तो वो vacuum create हो जाता है, then other people come in."
Somebody else will
But
get a chance.
he felt it was the right time, so he started in 1956, which was the first ever concert tour done by any Indian singer. Then he felt very strongly about royalty rights for playback singers, so he started the royalty battle, and along with his colleagues in his official capacity as the Playback Singer Association chairperson, he did the mic down. Like we talk about pen down protest, he did the mic down protest, and studios were shut for 3 months. So there were all these things, and I think जो आपका जो सवाल था, what was it about his personality? I think it was this great paradox of being gentle as well as being a rebel. You know,
In the book, it's mentioned that, and you actually explained that how his brothers were also fan of KL Saigal.
बिल्कुल.
Then, how much influence KL Saigal's singing or voice had on Talat Mahmood's vocals?
This was actually for all the singers of the golden era. KL Saigal was this unprecedented superstar that India had seen, and this was during British India.
Yeah.
And he wasn't really around in independent India. He died a few months just before we got independence. So he was a British India superstar. And anyone who came after him, be it Talat Mahmood, Mukesh ji, Rafi Saab, Kishore Kumar, उनके लिए उन सब के लिए उनके भगवान केएल सैगल थे. तो शुरू की अगर सिर्फ आप तलत महमूद की ही नहीं रिकॉर्डिंग, इवन इफ यू हियर द रिकॉर्डिंग्स ऑफ अदर सिंगर्स, they have all shown very heavy influence of KL Saigal.
Yes,
So
even
even
Kishore Kumar.
yes, yes. So this song that he recorded in Calcutta when he was barely in his late teens, 16, 17 years old, Talat Mahmood sang Sab Din Ek Saman Nahi Tha. So if you hear that song, and it's still available online and it has huge thousands of hits, but if you hear that song, you may not even recognize Talat Mehmood because he's so influenced by KL Saigal. He's made his voice heavy and deep and nasal. So yes, that influence has been there, of course, but later he found his own ground. He found
Yeah.
his own identity.
So then, correct to say the first milestone in Talat Mahmood's filmography was Tasveer Teri Dil Mera. Was that the song?
तस्वीर तेरी दिल मेरा बहला न सकेगी. So this was his first non-film
Oh, sorry, it was a non-film
ghazal, and
song.
also his first recording in Calcutta just after he finished his education. So this was a phenomenal hit. और उन दिनों का जो yardstick था of what is defined as a record hit is that you sell 300 copies of your LP. But this sold 1 lakh copies. So it was even beyond the milestone. It was like a, I don't know what, a super blockbuster.
Like announcement that I've arrived.
Yeah, I mean, like with a big bang. So he just
Yeah.
started the ground running.
Now he, of course, was a born artist. He
Mhm.
was partly living with two identities. One was as Tapan Kumar, and
Yeah,
one with his original name, that's Talat Mahmood.
right.
Please tell us, our viewers, about the dual life of Talat Mahmood.
So he was as much Tapan Kumar as far as his contribution to Bengali music goes, modern Bangla music. Modern Bangla music was also a movement which was trying to create its identity different from the traditional Rabindra Sangeet there. And it had influences of jazz and Western music, and it gave much more importance to poetry. So when he went to Calcutta, and just for reference for your viewers to understand and to put this in perspective, that in the 1940s, before independence, our showbiz and music industry center used to be Calcutta. Bombay happened after independence. So, of course, from studying in Lucknow, his career started in Calcutta. So, when he sang Tasveer, it was such a huge hit. And the great giant of the music industry at that time, Pankaj Malik, he said कि तलत अब तुमने ये गजल गाई है, this has become a huge hit, अब तुम कलकत्ता आ ही गए तो तुम बंगाली में भी गाओ. So he said, how do I do this, because my language is Urdu, I have studied Urdu poetry, I follow Ghalib and Mejaz, and how do I suddenly switch to Bengali, मैं क्या करूं? It's like, नहीं, the music director Kamal Das Gupta, he will help you with all the pronunciations और तुम्हें Bengali गाना है. So he sang his songs in Bengali as well, and the language Bengali, as sweet as his voice, it just gelled so well that for the longest time, for really longest time, I remember, and this is an incident I mentioned in the book as well, that one of my news colleagues in the newsroom in the early 2000s told me that he was convinced that Talat Mahmood is a Bengali boy, like a Bengali born boy. I said, no, no, he's a Lucknow family. And I had to tell him that, see, I am his family, so therefore I know. But that is how he made his mark. So whenever he sang Bengali songs, they were in the name of Tapan Kumar. And he sang his Hindustani and Urdu songs in the name of Talat Mahmood.
So also, would you like to talk to us about Talat Mehmood's journey in Hindi cinema from his breakout hit "ए दिल मुझे ऐसी जगह ले चल" from the film Arzu to singing songs composed by Naushad Saab
Yes.
to
No, this
further
was Anil Biswas.
yes
This was
and
his
he
godfather, Anil Biswas. Yeah.
and Anil Biswas, yeah, I mean Anil Biswas as well. Can you please talk to us about how he also almost became the singing voice of Dilip Kumar?
In this, I would like to quote filmmaker Muzaffar Ali Saab, who mentioned this in one of my book talks and book launch functions. So the thing is that Dilip Kumar's phase of the tragedy king, the voice of that tragedy king phase was Talat Mehmood. So that's how the Dilip Talat partnership started. And then, of course, their professionally their paths separated a bit because he started doing different films and the music trends changed. But that whole tragedy king phase of Dilip Kumar is incomplete without Talat Mahmood. So Muzaffar Ali Saab put it across very differently and rather very charmingly. He said कि तलत महमूद की वो आवाज थी जो दिलीप कुमार को अमर कर गई. And it was just a remarkable thing to say. One never really looked at it that way. But that immediately puts it in perspective that his phase of the tragedy king was really incomplete without Talat's voice.
Then, Sir, for this book, who all you met? What was your research like? How many people you interviewed from film
Mm-hmm.
industry, from his family?
Right. So yes, there were a lot of family anecdotes. Of course, my mom, my uncles and aunts talks about his generation, his brothers and sisters. Of course, they're not around, but his children are around, who are my uncles and aunts. So there was, of course, a lot of research from available from family, but those were personal anecdotes. um, uh, but of course, each of it, as the work of a journalist, everything had to be verified. जैसे अगर किसी मामू ने मुझे बोला कि ये उस गाने के कनेक्शन में ये किस्सा है, I had to calculate whether it was the same year, and if that incident is matching with that timeline and that year, then I had to correct them and say, please revisit your memory because this was another song. So all of that happened a lot. As far as the professional world is concerned, we already knew of a lot of incidents and anecdotes with his colleagues, Lata Didi, Mukesh Ji, Manna De, very close friends of his. Dilip Kumar Saab, I had a few interactions with his wife, Saira Banoji, as well. And Pankaj Malik's grandson, I got in touch with in Calcutta. Then Anil Biswas's daughter, I spoke with, who knew a lot of incidents which have been mentioned in this book. Also, interestingly, some of his colleagues are still alive. So I got in touch with his first concert manager, Mr. Nandi Duggal, and he's right now 92 years old. So he spoke about the concerts that they did together in 1956 and in the 1960s, and such exclusive insights. I got in touch with his who was part of his music arrangement and accordionist team, Mr. Enoch Daniels. He's also a legend in his own right. And Kavita Krishnamurti ji, she started her career by singing stage duets with Talat Mehmood, by
Ah,
singing his duets, by singing Lata Didi's or Asha Tai's version of the duets with him on stage. So she spoke to me so sweetly and shared a lot of behind the scene insights, and a lot of these exclusive insights are there in the book. So I was fortunate to get in touch with a lot of these people, and even when I was tracking his career in regional songs, he's sung in about 16 songs, 16 languages. Telugu में हो गया, मलयालम, मराठी में गाया, भोजपुरी में गाया, गुजराती में गाया. तो तेलुगु में उन्होंने कुछ गाने गाए थे विद बहुत हमारी दिग्गज सिंगर हैं, मिस पी सुशीला. शी इज नोन एज द नाइटिंगेल ऑफ साउथ इंडिया और द लता मंगेशकर ऑफ साउथ इंडिया. So she's also around, and once again, she's also about 91, 92 years old. So I was fortunate that a lot of people are still around, and I could speak with them to get this first-hand information about his work ethics, or his ability to just be liquid and sing in any language. Like P. Sushila ji told me that Telugu is one of the most difficult languages that India has. मगर उन्होंने इस तलफ़ुज़ और इस प्रोनाउंसिएशन से गाया कि आप कह नहीं सकते कि ये कोई लोकल रीजनल आदमी नहीं जो गा रहा है, in that sense.
but
So
then
that
what?
that was my work of two years of writing and research essentially.
So then, apart from Dilip Kumar, who were the other actors with
Hmm.
whom Talat Mahmood had a good, great
Sang
equation
for.
with? Like Devanand, Raj Kapoor,
बिल्कुल.
Shami Kapoor was also there.
Right. So he was Shammi Kapoor's first voice, in fact, much before the Shammi Rafi partnership started.
Okay.
He was the singer for Shammi Kapoor's one of his first films, one of his first hits. In fact, Shammi Kapoor ji himself says this in one of his interviews कि मोहम्मद रफी से बहुत पहले मेरी पहली आवाज तलत थे. एंड ही ऑल्सो सेड कि जब तलत ने एक्टिंग शुरू की, जब उनके एक फिल्म का प्रीमियर था इन विच तलत वाज एक्टिंग इन द फिल्म दिल नादान, सो इट वाज अ वेरी स्टारी प्रीमियर, and all his friends, Shammi Kapoor, Dilip Kumar, Devanand, Suraya, all his colleagues and film friends came for that premiere to support Talat as an actor. So in that, Shammi Kapoor ji admits and says that उस वक्त मैंने तलत को बोला था, देखिए आप हैं तो बहुत हसीन, मगर इस एक्टिंग वैक्टिंग में मत जाइए, वो हमारे लिए छोड़ लीजिए, क्योंकि हम सिर्फ आपकी आवाज चाहते हैं अपने लिए. सो दैट वाज, I mean, that was the kind of relationship everyone had with each other during the golden era. But because he was the top singer of the 50s, much before the actor singer partnership really got established, he was singing for everyone. He sang for Raj Kapoor with his films that he had, early films that he had with Nargis. With Devanand, he's had a lot of hits, especially जो आपने शुरुआत में mention किया, जाएं तो जाएं कहाँ,
Yeah.
from the film Taxi Driver.
I
He
love the
has
song.
fabulous hits with Sunil Dutt, and the most famous, of course, is इतना ना मुझसे तू प्यार बढ़ा.
A lovely song. Also, please tell us how the Binaka Geet Mala started in the year 1952. You, of course, have dedicated a full chapter to this film
Yes.
countdown show. And tell us
Uh,
about the politics behind the film song. I mean, there was a broadcasting minister called B.V. Keskar who
of
hated
that time.
Hindi film
Yes,
songs.
yes, yes. He thought film songs are too vulgar, and they should be banned because we are a new, independent, cultured country, and we have to focus on our classical music. So that was banned on All India Radio, and the only outreach and platform that film songs could have was All India Radio. That's it. तो वो बैन की वजह से बिनाका गीतमाला was born, and which was broadcast from Radio Ceylon. So Radio Ceylon was used to broadcast Binaka, और उसका सिग्नल देश भर में कैच होके लोग सुनते थे. तो Binaka की शुरुआत, the first year of Binaka, as you mentioned, and the reason why I dedicated a chapter to it, because it's a very significant part of our music history. And Talat Mehmood's, Talat Nana's songs were a big part of that Binaka Geet Mala. In fact, the year that it launched, um, it didn't do a countdown in the first year. It started doing a countdown from the second year of its existence. So in the first year, it just played out 9 songs, out of which the top 5 songs out of those 9 songs were Talat Mehmood's. And then the next year they had a countdown. So the next year again, the top song was Jaye Tu Jaye Kahan, which was Talat Mahmood's. So it's just to really emphasize how his career and his journey has, moved along with the history of history of India's music and film industry. Yeah.
As a writer, apart from the facts and anecdotes from his life, what do you think the reader will take away after finishing this book?
I think the reader will take away a lot of inspiration that this was a stalwart and a legend who quietly went along doing his work, and I was very aware of how to establish the music genre. The music helped establish being a pillar of our golden era. And then inspiring stories about the decisions he took, like the royalty battle or the world tours, and in helping friends, how he gave up films for his friends. एक फिल्म जो उनको मिली थी वो उन्होंने मुकेश जी को दे दी, मधुमती, because it was a very difficult point in Mukesh ji's life. He was going through a tough time. So Madhumati was Dilip Kumar's film, and it
Yes.
was obviously given to Talat Mahmood because he was his voice. But Talat Nana separately spoke to Bimal Roy and the Yusuf Saab, saying that just not give one song, but give this entire film to Mukesh because he's my close friend and I know he's going through a difficult time. So let him have these songs. So these were very unique aspects of his personality. So I think first and foremost, of course, it's going to be a very inspiring story. But as you mentioned as well, that a lot of issues that he raised are also still relevant today.
Yes.
Also, the menace of version songs, जो एक सिंगर रिकॉर्ड करता है फिर दूसरा सिंगर फिल्म के लिए रिकॉर्ड करता है, that had just about started at that time, and now it
Okay.
is still so much there, so a lot of these issues that he raised and spoke about are still very relevant. Or even his experimentation. He's called the Badshah of Ghazal, the king of Ghazals, and he was very particular about the quality of poetry, but he was easy about the orchestration of ghazals. He wanted to experiment on that. So in the 1960s, he released a non-film ghazal, which starts with the strumming of a Hawaiian guitar and goes into drums. So he brought in Western aspects to the ghazal as well. And we see a lot of fusion experimentation that even musicians do today. So I think in that sense, youngsters would also relate to it. And then that's the very reason why I've made very tiny sub chapters in the book, so
Yes,
that it
I
doesn't
like that.
feel very
Even the
heavy.
way it's they're titled, they're very interesting.
Thank you. So it's like a headline click. Every chapter is a
Yes.
headline click. You can just pick it up from anywhere and leave
Yeah.
it anywhere. So
Well, looking forward to read the book and listening to the songs of Talat Mahmood now, having spoken to you, Sir. Thank you so
wow.
much for taking time out and talking to me. And best of luck. And looking forward to read what you do, what you write next.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your time. I'm glad you've enjoyed the book so far. I think I'm sure you will when you reach the end as well.
Thank you. I'm looking forward. Thank you.